Welcome to the Incredibly Human podcast.
Thank you.
I've got Alyssa and Sam, correct?
Yes.
Right.
You guys are small business owners, and that's kind of what today is about. We just wanted to see what y'all are going through during a pandemic. And first of all, we're in your business. It's an arcade, which is pretty cool. What made you want to start an arcade?
Oh, you take that one? Yep.
Okay. So my friends and I went and visited an old school arcade in Dallas about, I guess it was 3 years ago. We went for a friend's birthday party, and this place specialized in old school arcades, and I didn't even know they were still around. And we had a blast. We were there till 2 a.m. The place was packed. And that night we went to Waffle House, and it's 3 a.m., and I'm looking on Craigslist for old arcade games and found a place. So I could hardly wait till the next morning, but I told Alyssa, I was like, hey, we need to buy a bunch of arcades because we're going to open up an arcade. And she knows how I am, so she kind of laughed and said, okay, well, why don't you think about it, pray about it for 6 months, and if it's still there, I'll consider it, or not, we'll talk more about
I
it.
said we'll pray about it, by the way.
We'll pray about it, yeah. So she knows how to handle my random ideas. But 6 months later, that idea was still there, and it was burning. And we're like, we want to provide something for this community here in Waxahachie. My wife's from Denver, but I grew up here, and there's not much to do for kids, young adults, young families. And so we loved the idea. So after probably 18 months of planning and buying random games here and there when we had some cash, we finally found a spot and opened up.
Yeah. Well, cool. So the way we got involved with y'all is I have a friend, Chris, who's got autism, and we took him to, I think this is the first arcade that we brought him to, but he loves video games. So whenever we did the same thing. We went to an arcade, and then when we found one in Waxahachie, which is, local, he loved it. And so we made a video, about Chris and being autistic and his love for games and comic books and running and all this stuff. But, I like y'all's little tag, play, shop, reminisce, because it's stuff that we grew up doing.
Yeah.
And to go back and to offer that to, young kids today who didn't experience arcades,
Right.
I think it's really special. So, you don't have to put a number in it or anything, but, how much have y'all invested in this business?
Yeah. We sold our first house and put what we had from that into this to give you some of an idea. And then from there, a lot of sweat equity, a lot of our time. I teach music lessons on the side, but other than that, I'm home with our kids. And so this is really kind of a career for me as well. And he has a full-time job outside of this. So, that and man hours.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you put a lot of effort into it and getting everything set up. When did y'all launch or start up?
Our opening day was October 12th, 2019.
Okay.
We moved into this space in August. Took a couple of months getting the games down here. This is a 100-year-old hotel, and we're in a basement, and the elevator's tiny. And we didn't think about that till we signed our lease, right?
That's a funny story.
So it took a whole day of getting these games down here, getting creative.
Yeah.
Hiring a moving company.
And hiring a moving company.
And that's something that we should probably say too. Being in this, it's Rogers Hotel, right?
Yes.
Really, really cool. It's a really cool spot, downtown in Waxahachie. And we just rode that elevator, and Callie was like, "This place is haunted."
Yeah.
Immediately. But it's cool. It's a cool location. It definitely has that, just a fun vibe. So y'all have jobs outside of this too to kind of, So this isn't substantial enough to where you can just do this full time.
Correct.
Right.
That's the dream.
That is the dream.
Yeah.
And pre-COVID, it was doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But we've had to definitely take a cut with that.
Right, and that's what we're about to hop into.
Yeah.
So when closure started, what was going on through your minds?
Well, it was funny because we were actually coming back from a vacation. It kind of all hit spring break. And when the schools didn't go back, we had spring break week was our best week ever. We'd only been open 4 or 5 months, but we had an awesome week. And then we heard that the schools were going to stay closed for another week. And so we were like, we want to be safe. We want to make sure we provide a safe place and don't encourage anything unsafe. But at the same time, if students are out, we're going to stay open longer.
Right.
So
Right.
we kept extended hours through spring break, just got as much hand sanitizer as we could, told our staff to make sure we're cleaning. And we stayed open that week thinking, oh, this is no big deal. Maybe we'll have even a busier week than we would have because kids are at home and need something to do.
Right.
That was our first thought, and quickly I think the whole world found out,
Right.
no, this is going to stick around.
Yeah. No, I know.
It's bizarre.
We hoped that it was only going to be a few weeks, a month maybe, but then whenever you started realizing it was going to be a long-term thing. So have y'all been able to bounce back from it yet, or you're still?
We had to completely shift our focus on how we run things. And so I wouldn't say that we've bounced back, but we've also had a lot of opportunities open up that might not have been an opportunity before at this quick in the game. So there's a plus side, I guess. But yeah, we definitely took a hit. But when we started focusing instead of on walk-in business and we focused on private events and private free play sessions, that helped get us through for sure. And then shifting our focus to revamping games and selling games. Still allowed us to stay open and provide that space when it was safe to again.
Right.
Yeah, because there was a 12-week period where we were closed.
Okay.
Not just reduced capacity. We were like part of reopening tier C or D, So for 12 weeks, our doors were closed. And before and after that 12 weeks, we did private sessions only. And actually, that was Alyssa's idea. There was one night where we were up late and I was stressing hard about it. Like, I don't want to close, but I don't want to stay open. Like, what do we do?
How do you balance that?
How do we pay rent, pay our employees,
Right.
but also take care of our customers? And at the same time, we were open. We weren't having business anyways. So I think Alyssa one night was like, let's just allow private sessions only.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really profitable for us at all, but we allowed as little as 3 people to come in here and just pay the $8.95 or whatever it was, and get 2 hours of free play. And so that helped us kind of keep our employees busy, helped a little bit with revenue. But I think also it helped people come in and know that they had a safe place, that they were literally going to be the only people in here. And we did that for at least a couple of weeks before the shutdown and a good couple of weeks or a month after.
So explain, because you just said that you were group, D or something to your, so someone who's not outside of, being a business in town, what did the city require for y'all to stay shut down, and how did they open y'all back up?
Right. My dates are probably off, but I think it was the end of March when we had our shelter in place here in Ellis County, and all businesses had to close unless you were essential. So we were closed, and sometime in late April or early May, businesses were allowed to start opening, but in different tiers. And we were...
Per the governor.
Per the governor, correct.
Yeah. And what categorized each tier? Is it like entertainment was...
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't remember the levels, but, like retail stores, I think, were part of the first or second tier. And then I know that we were kind of grouped in with bars for some reason, but I think it's just, kids and without, running around, and it's hard to keep cleaning up after everybody. So we were grouped into that last group of people that were able to reopen.
Right. Yeah. Well, with that being said, and I don't know if these numbers are 100% accurate. I feel like it's more, but I think this was off an article based on Yelp. 180,000 businesses closed at the beginning of the pandemic. 60% of those won't be reopening. They permanently closed.
Wow.
And that number is continuing to grow. Restaurants and retailers, retail shops, they made up most of those closures. And then obviously small business took the biggest hit. Large business, they have a lot of safety. They have, enough money that they can kind of recover, or, they can get through that period of closure. So when y'all were closed, was there any sort of support from somebody? I mean, what did y'all get to keep from losing this place? Because it was 12 weeks?
12 weeks, yeah.
12 weeks of no income.
No income.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, it was I was looking through our bank statements the other day. I was like, it is a miracle that we made it, honestly. But we did get help, and it came just in time. We were able to apply for the economic relief loan as well as PPP loan. For those that don't know, there's a specific loan to help businesses. That's the ideal. And then there's the one to help with like employees and payroll. And we qualified for both. So that came along, like I said, at the perfect time. And yeah, the Lord totally gave us opportunities he gave us ideas and vision to drive a little bit of revenue that we could. But we know that he has a plan for this place. And so while it was scary, we knew that we were going to make it, which I think is a huge testimony to how God provides.
A lot of these businesses, you have to pivot, you got to find a way to continue to stay open, but like, how do we do it in such a way that we're safe, but how can we make sure we got revenue coming in? So it seems like it did. It made everybody get creative and get creative really quick. So how many employees do y'all have?
3.
Currently have 3.
Yeah. Outside of us. Yeah.
Okay. And so y'all did receive aid, and y'all didn't have, so your rent and everything was kind of covered in that, or at first you had to kind of use money that you had saved. You had to go through that first.
Yeah, and we didn't have much saved at all because just a little backstory on opening up. We had applied for a big loan from a bank and got 1/5 of what we asked for. So our opening day, and our employees, if they hear this, they're going to be like, what? But on our opening day in October, we didn't have enough to cover payroll. I think we borrowed $200 from my parents to put snacks in the little snack area.
Yeah.
Right.
So we didn't have any savings. So when we got the PPP loan, it was great, but since we only had 3 employees and PPP was designed to help payroll, it didn't really help with rent at all. And we didn't get the economic disaster loan until a couple months later.
Yeah.
So we were scrambling. Luckily, we had a good first half of March. And then kind of like you were talking about with the pivot, we have always kept price tags on our arcade games and sold them. But before COVID, we probably only sold 1 or 2 because we weren't really pushing it. But as soon as the lockdown started, we just started posting all of our games for sale. A lot of people thought we were trying to go out of business, but that wasn't what we were doing.
Right.
We had the intentions of replacing them. And we were actually trying to come up with the number, and I don't know what it was, but probably 6 to 8 games during that 12 weeks. So that's what paid rent those months.
Right. So y'all didn't get any sort of, from your landlord or whoever owns this business, like, hey, let's not worry about rent right now, like any sort of...
They have systems in place regardless of COVID that you can file hardship. And so we did do that, and they were kind. They worked with us. They were understanding of the situation. It was never we need rent right now.
Right.
Never like that. They were very understanding. And so it didn't go away, but it helped.
Right.
They helped us. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they've been very flexible with us and gracious with us for sure.
Yeah, and that's something that just speaks to, understanding we're all going through this together. When people are, I've heard horror stories where landlords are still, they're hard on it. They're like, we need that income. How close did y'all come to actually losing this though?
Man.
I think there were maybe a few nights where one of us was weak, but the other one was strong, where we're like, is it even worth it? But we never let that thought go too far. We continued to pray about it, and we just felt confirmation that the Lord didn't have us open in October just to close in March.
Yeah.
So we just kept fighting, and we stopped taking a paycheck in February, and we still haven't taken a paycheck from the arcade since then. Yeah. And just said, we're going to work as hard as we can to keep it going.
Yeah. And I don't know that it ever crossed my mind that was an option. I don't know about you, but I was like, that's not an option.
I was tempted.
That's not happening. I remember when they were calling for shutdowns, I think I was more okay, we need to close a little earlier than he was expecting to, which we worked it out. And then like I said, the private free play sessions really kind of bridged that gap. But it was never in my mind a permanent thing. And I think that's partly because we were in the first year of business. Yeah. We had such, vision for where this was going, and we actually opened sooner than maybe we were planning to originally. We had a bigger idea of what we wanted to incorporate, but it just wasn't playing out that way yet. And now I can see that how it all worked out as a blessing. But so given that, I think I was holding on to, no, there's still more to come.
Right.
There's still more to come here.
So how would you speak to those who didn't have that, what you would call a blessing? They didn't feel, 60% of them are permanently closed. And a lot of them are small business, mom and pops, young adults who are putting their life into this. What would you offer to them?
Do you have?
I mean, first of all, that we feel for you, because we could have easily been there.
Totally.
Matter of fact, I didn't want to apply for the economic disaster loan, but Alyssa did, because I was like, no, it's going to be 2 weeks and we'll be back to, filling this place up. And so without that, we wouldn't be here for sure. And so, for those who have lost their business, I would say that, there's going to be another opportunity.
Yeah.
That this isn't going to be forever. I think that it's unrealistic to think that things are going to go back to normal.
Right.
Like, I don't think there's going to be a normal like there was. But I don't think we're going to be here in this spot forever.
Right.
New opportunities will come. Things are shifting. And so, I hope the best to all who have lost their businesses, that they'll be able to reopen in some form of fashion.
Definitely. Right. I'd like to say too, if they had the drive and the vision and the creativity to launch a business in the first place, which is really hard, they can get through COVID somehow. And if they've been shut down that way, I 100% believe that there is another creative idea that will come to them and an opportunity, whether it's out of their garage or their home or a closet, like whatever their business be, it's in them. It'll happen again. Hold on. Don't give up. Right. I think it's so hard to not let these kinds of circumstances weigh you down, and don't let the circumstances dictate your reality, would be what I would say. Don't let this dictate what your dreams, dream big. It'll happen.
That's good.
Thanks.
Yeah, really well said. I think too, a lot of businesses, small businesses have been struggling for years and years and years because a lot of big box, large businesses and corporations. So, I think a lot of people, they've been up against it for a long time. And so when COVID came, it was the final blow.
Definitely. Well, there's a convenience too, like that big box places can offer that's harder for small businesses to offer. Small Business Saturday this last year it made more of an impression on me than any other year because of COVID, where I'm like, man, I can see on this side of things what it takes for a mom and pop store to meet those demands. It's a lot.
Right. Or even now that y'all started your own, I don't know if y'all ran a business before this, but, starting your own small business, now you see other small businesses and you're like, okay, I see you. I understand.
Yes, definitely.
We got to avoid do our best to avoid convenience and make sure we're, again, looking out for community, looking out for other people who have these dreams. Yeah,
absolutely. I think Christmas time rolled around, I had the conviction of like, man, I'm going to try and do more shopping locally for Christmas. Amazon, especially during a pandemic, is so tempting. I'm like, man, I can just get that here in 2 days. But like going to boutique, I'll give a quick example. I was shopping for his birthday, which is in December, and he wanted something from Yeti, and I almost just went online and ordered it on Amazon. It'll be here really soon. Ended up going local. After I had that conviction of like, if I want people to pour into our small business, I need to be pouring into theirs too. Shop local, and went to Meet Church down here in Waxahachie, and they gave me an accessory that's like as much as the original product was for free as a Christmas gift. Wow. I'm like, you don't get that. Amazon ain't gonna do that. No. Like, you don't get that kind of relationship, that impression, and that's worth it, So shop local.
Yeah, no, for sure. We've actually been having that conversation too. The more and more I've researched and just learned about Amazon and just, the economic divide and disproportion between people. And a lot of it stems from just a few really large, big businesses who've got the power to do everything. And so we're learning about it. I'm no expert on it, but it's something that we're going to, pay more attention to and look into.
Right.
But there's that, when you walk into something like this, versus, those arcades that you went to in the mall back in the day. And,
right.
You can feel this was put together. You can feel that y'all put your heart into this. And, I think it's important to, we were talking about Chris, and I'm always reminding him, like, there's that arcade, let's go, because he's always wanting to go see a movie, he's wanting to do this, he's wanting to change it up. I'm like, hey, we got to support the place local. Let's go to this place. And of course, now that y'all have The Simpsons, he's going to be game to do it.
Come on, Chris.
Yeah, bring him by. He alone he could just market for you guys.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about COVID a little bit, and y'all having to deal with that. I think the world was put in a very tough position, like you were just talking about. How do we do this safe? And how do we do it to where we can still survive, but, at the same time, we're not spreading. And now that things have just kind of blown up, like here in Waxahachie, we were just kind of talking about beforehand, my wife being an ICU nurse, right now the Waxahachie hospital is full. It's at capacity.
Wow.
So we're facing some really uneasy realities. If you were to get in a car accident or something, you might be denied the ER in our own local town. You might have to go to urgent care, or you got to go 45 miles to the next hospital that's got available beds. So COVID's becoming very real. Something that a lot of people don't want to talk about, but being married to Callie, our morgues are full.
Wow.
And that's hard to chew on. That's hard to accept. It's almost makes you nauseous to think about. And there's actually a site you can go to. It's called data.rgj.com, and you can look at hospital capacities in your county. So I recommend people to go on there and just see what your state and what your county is going through, just to give you an idea. But anyways, I think, we thought if we were to kick this in the, curb this COVID breakout, things would go back to normal. And now we're kind of seeing the worst of it right now. We're seeing the worst we've had all year or last year. So, I think a lot of people think we should have just opened up. We should have just stayed open because it's kind of already happening. And there's kind of this misconception that it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Why risk all these businesses closing? There's a H7N9 flu that broke out in 2013 as a bird flu, and it had a 60% death rate. But it just wasn't contagious. And the reason why it didn't break out and become a big epidemic or a pandemic is that it wasn't as contagious. But if something like that were to happen and it was contagious like COVID-19, you're just looking at, unrealistic numbers,
Right.
The world, potentially collapsing.
Right.
So when this all started, we needed to understand that. And as painful as it is that we lost a lot of business and everything had to close down, it's almost like, do you ever take that risk? Was it the right thing to shut down? And I think that's something a lot of people debate about. But I think we need to remember when this first started out, like what was going on and how serious it could have been, and the fact that it still is extremely serious. But with that being said, have y'all found it difficult to walk that line with your customers and try to, hey, we're still trying to do this safe, but, stay open?
It's hard to meet the needs of people who are like, I'm still quarantining. I don't want to go, but I need to get out of my house. I'm going crazy, and they're like coming in full get up, which I respect. And then there's other people who are like, oh, this isn't real. And they're coming like they would have come before COVID. And we've early on recognized we can't control other people. We can set an example, and we can, shut down and out of respect for those in leadership and not knowing what this virus is going to do. And those on the front lines who are working it. And then reopening was like, okay, we want to still allow time for families. So we actually cut down our private event rate. It's normally like $150 an hour for 2 hours, and we cut it down to $99 an hour and opened up more time for families who were maybe on the more cautious side. I don't know. picking my words carefully, cautious side who are like, yeah, I still need something to get out. They can know they can still come here. We're disinfecting between every use, and our employees are wearing masks, and, you know, we're social distancing as best as we can. And that's been helpful, I think, kind of towing that line. Marketing's been tricky because we have like I need people to know this. We have set pictures we use for branding that were like before COVID. And so this is one of those ways where I'm still adapting, posted like advertising for spring break, and somebody was like, there's no masks. And I was like, oh, this is weird. Like, this is before masks were a thing, actually.
Right.
Like, it still shows what you can do at the arcade. I need to go back and like put a graphic of masks on.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
Yeah, all that marketing material out the window now.
Oh man.
I mean, but that's every business. They do
Yeah.
that. You know, you have drip campaigns type
Exactly.
thing, and it's all that's how it works. So yeah, you've found it a way to help people who want to take it serious.
Right.
But for the people who don't take it serious,
Right.
how are you treading that?
It's tricky.
Yeah, we have, we've obviously upped our hand sanitation. We installed little hand sanitation wall dispensers. And we have just about every other game, we've got a bottle somewhere. Our employees are wiping down. You know, I can't say that somebody plays a game and somebody walks up right to it
Right.
without without being wiped down. But we try our best to, after every use, we have employees up walking around and cleaning. And, you know, we encourage mask wearing. Like she said, all of our employees are wearing masks. So we do our best to, like Alyssa said, lead by example. We're obeying the capacity rules. You know, those are kind of changing. We have to make sure we stay on top of those. But other than maybe a birthday party, we've not even gotten close to our capacity, which is good. Makes it a lot more manageable.
Right.
I mean, of course, selfishly for the business, we'd love this place to be full, but it's kind of nice that it's not. You know, it's easier to manage. People feel more safe.
Right.
And so we're doing our best our can to do our part and encourage others as well.
And
Cool.
great. I mean, thankfully, this is kind of two sides of the same coin. We haven't been busy enough
Right.
Yeah.
to really have that
Right.
be a problem yet, where maybe there's people who are in here with masks and people who aren't in here with masks, are in here without masks. And we haven't really had that conflict yet. If someone walks in without a mask, we just, like I said, set an example by we'll distance and we'll wear our mask and clean up as best as we can. And
Right.
it's kind of all you can do.
Yeah. Well, does it bother you when people aren't wearing masks? Do you worry about your family or, your friends or y'all yourselves, or you feel like
Good
I'm
question.
not too worried about it?
I really don't, to be honest. I try and stay out of the mask debate and do my part and what I'm called to with me and my family, and not be an enforcer, and especially not have our employees enforce it on
Yes.
people who are looking for a fight. Like that's not their job.
Right. Yeah.
So I think we do our best. We keep our distance. We've got at least 6 feet from our register anyways. And like she said, it hasn't been busy enough where that's been a
really an
problem.
issue.
So I really don't worry about it. Do you?
No, I don't. I don't know how to explain it. It's like it's not that I doubt the seriousness of the situation, but it's not my job to make sure somebody else understands. The only
Right.
thing I can do is me. And
Right.
so if I'm taking care of me and my family and we're doing what we feel we need to do, which is, like distancing and wearing masks, and like I haven't taken my kids to anywhere but we go to the park sometimes, but like it's still been like a year of quarantining, I
Right,
feel like.
yeah.
We also just had a baby, so that's a factor. So yeah, that's all you can do. And I think there's something that in our culture right now I see happening where it's like, how do I say this?
You have to pick a side.
Yeah, and it's like I can respect that somebody landed on a different decision than me, and I know what's tricky about COVID is that like I'm wearing a mask to protect you. Like I get that, but like I don't know. I believe in turning the other cheek and serving others, and if I'm wearing a mask to protect somebody else, I believe that Jesus has got my back. Like
Right.
if they're not wearing a mask, I can distance. I don't have to be. There's choices I still have.
Right. Yeah, and you can only control so much.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, meeting that with some sort of aggression
Right.
is not worth it a lot of times. But we have been at places where, I've even, seen big businesses who they they legitimately want to protect their customers.
You're right.
And they want to protect their employees.
Yeah.
If y'all had an outbreak or if y'all got sick,
Yeah.
what happens to this place and how is it run?
Right.
So, it's a very, very difficult thing to tread, is how do you make sure you're protecting people, protecting your family,
Yeah.
but also not instigating and not getting in people's faces.
Right.
But it's crazy because like a mask right now is almost like, it's like you've chosen a side.
Yeah.
And you're either, I'm with you on that side or I'm against you on that side.
Right.
And you immediately see somebody and that's the first thing is,
Are they wearing a mask?
yeah, or, who they voted for or, what they believe in. Yeah. And what it represents. And it's almost, it's like it's made us put a political patch on our shoulder or something.
Right.
But yeah, it's tough. And I think small businesses, you have the greatest difficulty with this. If you tried enforcing it legitimately, you're risking alienating those people and then losing business.
Right.
If you didn't require masks whatsoever, and then you had those other people who are taking it serious, you risk alienating them.
Right.
So you're in a tough position because you're trying to appease both parties.
Definitely.
So yeah, I can't even imagine having to do that. But I feel like y'all are just trying to do the best you can and go with the flow.
Definitely. I think, I think it comes down to our conviction of it's a choice. And if people want to interpret the facts differently, we can't control that. And like you said, it can be so politicized where it's like we're trying as best as we can to like be present in that, but not feel the fire.
Right.
And yeah, it is tricky. And there's daily decisions we have to make where we're like, And I will say when this all started, we, had kind of a team meeting with our employees and we're like, hey, whatever y'all need to do, like we support you. If you don't feel comfortable being here with the chance of somebody coming in without a mask, and we're not, we're encouraging mask wearing, but we're not going to be the rule enforcers. Like we respect if you need to take a step back. And so I think that and when going back to like protecting our people, like that was our way of providing them that protection of like, you guys have a choice here. Like we can support you in that. And all of our employees have been fine, thankfully. Yeah. On the same page. So that makes it a little easier.
Right. And we've gone to some small, like little restaurants, and it's, they're more elderly serving, business owners.
Right.
And to me, that's where it's a little bit like, okay,
now I've got to do something.
Y'all being young, healthy, you're not at risk.
Right.
Could it still happen? Yes. Does it still happen? Yes. But for these businesses who are, maybe they have somebody who's got fighting cancer or has cancer or an autoimmune disease or a weakened immune system, lung issues. For them, those businesses, I think they're carrying a little bit more weight because they're legitimately worried. But the people with immune issues and are elderly, they still got to work too. They got to be out here in the community. So the way I see it is just it's self-sacrifice, kind of how you're talking about. I'm not too worried about it, particularly for me, but it's a small task. It's a small gesture just to say, look, whatever you believe in it and whatever you don't believe in it, so be it. But with things going on the way it is, this is just a gesture to say, hey, I'm with you. I support you. I support the fact that I take it serious. Well, I'm married to an ICU nurse who sees it every day. Yeah. But to me, it's just a small way of saying, hey, I believe in community and I believe in respecting one another.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever had any issues with people though, like with other customers coming inside?
Not really. I can't think of anything.
We've had it both ways. I've had people thank us for wearing masks, and I've had customers thank me for not making them wear masks.
Yeah.
So, we've had it both ways, and like I said, we kind of made a decision to not aggressively enforce it, but to lead by example. And there's enough space in here to socially distance. Yeah. And I don't think we've had any negative feedback other than on social media. when
Trolls.
we post a picture or trying to do a safe event or something, you know, there's been some.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
but-
a whole thing. That's a whole thing.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to avoid those.
Yes.
Yes.
Those instances. Well, good. I mean, that's something to celebrate in itself, is the fact that y'all
Absolutely.
haven't had any of that conflict, because there's some places where they do.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't know how you would go about managing that. You know, how, if you had some sort of dispute in here or dispute with y'all, and you know, I think COVID has put a lot of pressure financially on you, but it's also put a lot of
Social pressure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
where you're trying to make everybody happy. And the reality is, y'all just want to run your business. You want people to come in here, have fun, reminisce, shop, play games, and you don't want it to be this big, you know, political thing or social thing.
We almost want this to be an escape from all that,
Right.
if possible.
Yeah. A place where you can kind of come and decompress.
Yeah.
I think would be our vision for this time of like, let's the world is crazy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just fill that noise with game noises.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Like, let's detach from the stresses of things and dive into a video game and
Yeah.
a game that y'all don't even have to. One thing that Chris loves about this place, you don't have to use quarters.
Yeah.
You won't die. And he loves that. He can play the entire game all the way through.
Oh man, his enthusiasm encourages us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, right.
He's great.
Yeah, to have people who are that excited about video games.
Yes.
Were y'all big gamers before, or
No.
just the arcade vision?
Actually, yeah, it started with the arcade.
Mhm.
I mean, I enjoyed console games as a kid. She might be more of the gamer. She's
Yeah.
kind of a comic nerd and was huge into Batman
Mhm.
Yeah.
as a kid. But I think we've discovered this world of gamers here, even here in Ellis County.
Mhm.
We have local tournaments,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's been hard to navigate with COVID.
Mhm.
But it's kind of cool to be a part of the gaming community now, and
Yeah.
we've learned so much in just a
It's been fun.
year that we've been open. Now we feel like gamers.
Yeah, yeah. You're getting sucked into the world.
Right.
Noobs. We're newbies.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
When you think of the word community, what comes to mind?
Mm.
I think of a group of people, you know, living together. And I think because of the proximity, I think of proximity when I think of community, like locally, you
Mhm.
know, here at Waxahachie is what I think of. And I think of people doing life together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think of a responsibility
mm.
to your community. You know, we should all strive to give back to the community in whatever way we can, help each other out in whatever we can. And, you know, when you're down on your luck and somebody helps you out, then return the favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is, doing life together and supporting one another, encouraging one another. I think when I think of our community, and Waxahachie, I think is really good at this, being empathetic and aware of the needs in our community, the needs
Mhm.
of those around you, and offering a hand when you can. I'd like to say too, like as a business, and that's going kind of back to that small business talk we had. It's like when you invest in a small business around you, you're investing in your community.
Yeah.
And we're so honored to be a vessel for that,
Mhm.
to be able to get to know our community more and get to know those around us and see how we can serve. And it's been really cool.
Yeah, and that's a key word, investment. Investment isn't always financial.
Mm-mm.
It is to a large degree, especially when it comes to causes in your community, nonprofits, like small businesses and businesses in general. They need that financial aspect of it. They need that to thrive and to grow and to continue to chase those dreams. But it also it's the energy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you invest energy, you invest time.
Yeah.
Coming in here and playing video games for just a little bit, it's a small investment to y'all financially, but also it fuels your energy when
Mhm.
this place has people in it, right?
Absolutely.
Whenever it's empty, you feel discouraged.
Yes.
You know, you question things. You wonder if this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's a lonely, terrible void to fill.
Mm.
So investing, even if it's just your time and that energy. But when I think of community too, I think y'all are hitting it right on the head. It's the little things. It's the opening the door for people. It's the
Yeah.
saying hello. It's It's, hey, this business is going through this, or this family's going through this. What can we do?
Yeah.
And that, you know, I think right now with COVID, you know, we're experiencing a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a lot of people are stepping up, and how can we help our fellow neighbor? And so I would definitely encourage people to come here and invest in y'all, and because you're investing in their wellness right now in a time where people need it.
Mm.
We need laughter and video games and goofiness.
Yeah, definitely.
What do
Thank
you, yeah, because of the year, it's just been so much around death and mortality and all this. Callie has seen more death in, you know, this year than we'd ever want her to ever experience. But it does start to ring in, you know, what is life? And so my next question is, you know, what do you want people to say about you whenever you pass?
Whoa.
He was handsome.
Oh my gosh.
That's all that matters, right? He's a good looking fella.
Yo.
Go ahead, babe.
What?
How do you top that?
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's a good question.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, I want you to finish yours.
Wait, that
Thank
wasn't
you.
it? I thought we were done.
There's more. I think the
Simple-handed.
biggest thing for me is integrity.
Yeah.
Is yeah, I want people to say like that guy was honest. He treated me fairly. So I mean, there's more to that, you know, but down deep for me, it's integrity.
Yeah, I'd say for me, like, I'd want to be remembered as somebody who was kind, like there for people when they needed them. Loyal, maybe, is the word I'm looking for. I think that's what matters. And that, I mean, and it's part of integrity too, I think.
No, absolutely.
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
Something to think about.
Philosophy hour. Whoa.
Well, I think when you ask those types of questions, it reflects what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
As a business owner, somebody who's loyal to your customers, loyal to your community, and you have integrity, you're not screwing people over.
Right.
That's what we all want out of each other. We want those types of things. So if we can reflect on that and we can, you know, kind of let it boil out of us, things that we all feel and we want out of each other, but say, do people feel that about me?
Right.
You know, flip it around a little bit.
That's good.
Last question. What do you think it means to be human?
I don't know. The first thing that came to my head is like temporary. I know that's kind of morbid, but like,
Goes back
you
to
know,
our
we all
last
have an endpoint.
Yeah.
And kind of like your first question is like, what do you want to make out of the short time that you're here? Because it is a short time.
Yeah.
Especially we've seen that this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, that encourages me to not push things off, to not wait, you know, to not avoid somebody because I'm out of time or something, you know, but to remember that this life is short and let's make the most of it. Is that a long way to say YOLO?
YOLO. You just did that.
You should have just said YOLO.
Right? That's what I just said.
Oh man. Yeah, the first thing that came to my head, bear with me, is I'm gonna laugh saying it. Okay, I'm gonna find a better way to say this. Like, it's okay to fail. So I think of human, I think of imperfection.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think of human, and I think it's amazing how beautiful and sweet and like rich we can be as humans, but like we're gonna fail. And I guess I want to end it on a hopeful note, though, like that there's so much opportunity in that, and it's okay. I think we tend to have, especially when we keep those big life visions in our mind, this like perfectionistic mindset I see so much in myself and others of like having to hit that mark 100% all the time. And it's like, no, like actually when we fail and we're humbled by that, you know, that's where a lot of the beauty happens.
Oh yeah.
Take some of that pressure off, I think.
Yeah, and when you take temporary and imperfection and you roll that into what you're also doing right now as a family, as a business owner, you know, it is more humbling because you're like, hey, what can I do here in this moment? Because it's not forever. But also, we don't need this thing to just skyrocket,
Right.
you know, because it's very humbling. You're serving people like Chris, you know, that's humbling. There's somebody out there who gets joy out of what you're doing and what you're offering. You know,
Thanks a lot.
that's humbling,
That's
you
cool.
So I highly recommend people come here, come play games, come reminisce. I really appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you.
And y'all had really good answers. And, I empathize with what y'all are going through, navigating the business side of this, but also the health side of it. It's a lot to gamble and it's a lot to juggle. But I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks.
And same to you.
having-
Thank
yeah.
you. This is an awesome podcast, and we're happy to be a part of it.
Cool.
Absolutely. Honored.